everyone can hear me, everyone can see me. So if you can just go and check and make sure we're good to go, that will be helpful. Also, please know that you can leave some comments and ask questions throughout this live. Even if you're not joining me live, you can also check this out after and leave comments, and I'll be sure to get back to you and check and make sure everything is good to go. So again, I just want to make sure you can see me, you can hear me, and all that great stuff, because you are in for a treat. We're talking all about how to make your launch plan within your business and so much more. So I'm super, super thrilled to be talking all about launching, because most of us are heading into launch mode once we go into the new year. So let me know in the comments, are you launching this upcoming year and in 2022? And if that is the case, what are some of the things that you are looking to launch? So let me know in the comment section. Again, I'm just checking to make sure we're good and that we're showing that we're live and all of that good stuff. Okay. Can't hear me? You can see me? Okay, so you can't see me, but you can hear me. So let's start my video. Oh, there we go. Rocking and rolling. So thank you so much. Someone just let me know that they can hear me, but they can't see me. So now you can hopefully see me. You can even see Sir Paddington, my new little pup that's in our family. He has been such a joy over the last week to have. So let's go ahead and dive right into what we're talking about today. If you don't already, grab your notebook. Grab your calendar and grab a pen, and also grab your cup of joe or your coffee or whatever it may be, so that you can rock and roll in today's training on how to plan for your upcoming launch for your next digital product. So your digital product can be a course, it could be a membership, it could be a coaching program. It can be an ebook. It can be all these amazing different things. So if you have some sort of digital product that you're looking to put out into the world, but you don't know how to launch it, you don't know how to generate revenue into your business, and you don't know how to create hype, buzz, excitement, and really build an audience to sell this product to, well, then this will help you today. So I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm going to go ahead and just dive right in so that we can get to this and ultimately plan your upcoming launch. Also, in the comment section, let me know where you're joining from. Let me know if you are joining from wherever you are around the world, and also if it is morning or lunch or evening for you. For me, it is lunchtime. So after this, I'm going to probably go and run and just grab something to eat and finish up this cup of water, hot water that I have going on. Okay, so before we dive right in, I am just going to make sure comments are working, so that if you have a comment, I can see you and hear you and respond in live time. And again, if you're not joining us live, you can always just leave a comment and I'll be sure to get back to you. All right, so 2022 is right around the corner. A lot of people have been wondering, how am I going to get my course, my membership, my coaching program, or my digital product off the ground? Maybe you have been spending 2021 building out your product. Maybe you have been creating your courses, even building your audience, building your email list, things along those lines. But now it's time to actually launch. You have been in build out mode for a while and you're ready to transition. Or maybe you have actually launched before, but you didn't see the success that you wanted. You thought you were going to put your product out into the world and people would be just knocking down the doors to join, but they didn't. And so wherever you are right now, don't worry, because we're going to make a plan so that your next upcoming launch can see the light of day and also succeed in terms of getting people to your program or getting people to buy your digital product, and also being able to really build your audience along the way. So launch goals are something that a lot of people skip over when it comes to planning their launch. So over the years, I've been able to work with female coaches, consultants, and course creators to help them to build out not only their courses and their digital products, but to create a marketing strategy and ultimately launch their business and see success. Now, most people launch, and usually the first launch is sometimes a learning lesson. But as you continue the process and you learn the systems and the methods that go into actually launching, you're able to improve over time and eventually see some of these amazing results that you hear so many of these like online course legends who might be coaches, consultants, or membership directors or things like that who create these amazing products and have this awesome launch. So maybe you've been thinking, how do I get my launch to 5 figures? How do I get my launch to 6 figures or even 7 figures? That's the question that a lot of my clients have whenever they come to work with myself and my team. They ask themselves, how can I get my digital product out into the world? And then how can I launch it to where it actually generates revenue consistently and also allows me to really connect with my tribe and build something that they want? And it all starts with launch goals. So after we have created the product, we have that all ready. It's all packaged in some pretty wrapping paper and a bow and all that great stuff. It's time to now shift our focus to planning how we're going to market this and get it out into the world so that you can be able to get people into your tribe and get people into your courses, your programs, and so much more. So now what I want to do is I want to break down launch goals. So again, grab your piece of paper, grab your pen, because we're going to go into where are you currently at right now. So a lot of people like to go into, this is where I want to be. Here are my expectations for my launch. I want a 5-figure, 6-figure, 7-figure launch. But if you don't know where you're at, you're not going to be able to get to those results because you have to clearly identify where are you at today. When you're honest with yourself where you're at today, such as where you're at with your audience and where you're at within your business, do you have systems in place? Is it a one-person show? When you open up that door and you sit down and really acknowledge where you're currently at today, it will open up the doors for you to now set expectations for where it is you want to go and ultimately implement those expectations in order to actually see success within your launch. So in order for us to get that clarity, I want to ask you a few questions. And it's going to start again where you are currently at and be honest with yourself. Do not fabricate your numbers. Just be up in front, can't speak today. Be upfront with yourself about where you currently are. So my first question is to you, do you have an audience? A lot of people sometimes want to launch their business, but they have no audience. Maybe they're just getting started. Maybe they have been in the trenches of building out their course or their membership or their coaching program. They've been creating worksheets and they've been recording and doing all the things such as creating sales pages. But now they just realize they don't have an audience. Or maybe you have created the product, you've done all that stuff, and you didn't take the time to build an audience. That wasn't the top of your list. So now you're trying to go and build that audience in order for you to launch to someone. So I want to know, where are you currently at with your audience? How many people do you have on your email list? How many people do you have on social media? How many podcast listeners do you have? How many website visits do you have coming to your actual website? How many YouTube subscribers do you have? And how many people do you have within your Rolodex who are going to be a good fit for your digital product? Again, a lot of people sometimes just want to skip over this and they want to go straight into what's my launch event going to be? How am I going to launch and when am I going to launch? But it's important for you to gain this clarity so that then you can make a game plan on how you can get to this particular place within your launch. So just to give you a heads up on some reality numbers, just in case you're not familiar with conversion rates within the online world, the conversion rates are usually between 1 to 5%. That's really low, 1 to 5%. Now, there are some people that I have helped launch that have over 5%. They have an 8% conversion rate or a 10% conversion rate, but they are really connected with their audience. And they're able to really dive in deep and understand what they're needing and create a product around that. Now, that's not always the case. So in order for you to really plan accordingly for your upcoming launch, you need to be aware of some of the conversion rates out there, the typical conversion rates, which is usually 1 to 5%. So let's say you have 500 people on your email list and you have a conversion of 1%. That means you're only going to have 5 new customers join your upcoming program, your coaching, your membership, or whatnot. Now, let's say you have 500 people on your email list and you have a 3% conversion rate. That means you're only going to have about 15 new customers to join your program. And lastly, let's say if you have 500 people on your email list and 5% of people convert, that means only 25 new customers will join your program. So I want you to be really clear with yourself. Do you have an audience? Now, I know building an audience on social media is a huge deal for a lot of people, but one thing I have learned over the years, as well as through my clients, is that just because your social media following is huge, doesn't mean that they're all going to convert at that even 1%. So I would recommend that you make sure that the people who are on your social media, your YouTube or your Instagram, your Facebook, whatever it may be, that you also have their email information so that you can have a higher percentage of conversions and ultimately get them into your program. So go ahead and take time to answer that question. Where are you currently at with your audience? How big is your audience right now? And the next question is, are you active with your audience? So one thing I have learned over the years is that sometimes people will bring over audiences from maybe a prior company, or maybe they have built a connection or networked in the community of what they're focused on within their industry. And they find that I'm just going to grab this audience and I'm going to take it over into my business. And I'm going to just upload all these emails and I'm going to send an email out to these people and they're going to buy my product. Well, that's not always the case. So how active are you currently right now today with your audience? Have you been neglecting them? Have you been kind of putting them off and not really talking to them? Or have you been communicating with them consistently and you're engaging with them and you're creating the content that ultimately helps them get from step A to step B and move closer to the results that they're looking for? How engaged and how connected are you? Now, that's a question only you can answer. So as you're writing this down, if you feel like you're not engaged, don't beat yourself up. Just start to ask yourself, how can I start connecting with my audience more? How can I create trainings like what we're doing right now? How can I create a podcast, or how can I set up a PDF worksheet that really guides my customers to help connect them and get them closer to the result that they're looking for? Now, as you're setting this foundation, this is going to ultimately help you to identify some of the other areas of where you want to go. It helps you to create the game plan to identify if you need to spend more time building your audience before launching, and if you need to collaborate more and connect with other people and grow your audience through their tribes. It just allows you to make a better game plan for your upcoming launch. So, for example, let's say that you are looking to launch your product, but you don't have an email list, or maybe your email list is about 300 people and under. Now, if that is the case, you might want to spend a couple of weeks, such as anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks, finding a way to build your audience. Now, you can build your audience through things like lead magnets. You can build your audience through connecting in other people's tribe. So let's say you want to collaborate and you want to go on someone else's podcast or YouTube channel, or just do a training within their Facebook group, or somewhat of collaboration that will allow you to introduce yourself and really present yourself and give that authority figure and ultimately get information that you can utilize within your business. So if that is the case, you might want to spend anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks doing that before you go into pre-launch mode, before you go into launch mode, before you go into post-launch phase. I want you to take that time to really build your audience first, because that's where I see a lot of people kind of fall off when it comes to launching. They launch, but they launch to crickets, or they launch to an audience that is not engaged, that is not connected with them whatsoever, and honestly never said that they wanted this type of product. So those are usually the launch flops that I see. And I want to help you avoid that. And you can do that all by just identifying where you're currently at and seeing if you need to spend a little bit more time list building. Okay, so after you do list building, we want to continue our way down this game plan, because in order for you to get to the actual launch, it's important for you to know the time frame of what your launch needs to be. So if you're having to spend 2 or 4 weeks to build your audience, then your launch time frame might be a little bit longer than someone who has an established audience. So I have some clients who come to me who have thousands and thousands of people on their email list. They're just not sure how to launch. And then I have others who have 1,000 and under, and they might not connect with their audience as much, and they're trying to figure out how to connect and also launch their product. And so sometimes we have to go into building mode and then move and transition our way into actual launch mode. Okay, so once you have that, we're now going to move into what is your current average email open rates? Again, if you're just starting your email list, you might not notice how many people are opening up your emails. But during a launch, it's so important to know what your email open rates are, or how often people are actually engaging with your emails. What are your click-through rates and things along those lines? Because you want to make sure that when you go into launch mode, people are getting your emails, they're opening up your emails, and ultimately, they're clicking throughout your emails, because the clicks are going to lead to your sales page. They're going to lead to your checkout. But if people aren't opening your emails, if they're not clicking through your emails, then you're not going to see the success that you want. I don't care how great your copy is. If people aren't opening your emails, it does not matter. Let me repeat myself. If people aren't opening up your emails, it does not matter. You can have beautiful copy. You can have an excellent sales page. You can have an excellent checkout page. But if people never see it, then what's the point? So our goal is to get people to not only open your emails, but to engage in your emails and get to an end result, which might be a lead magnet. So as you're working through just kind of getting them used to clicking, it could be a lead magnet that you give them in the beginning during your pre-launch phase. But then ultimately over time, what you're doing is you're telling your clients, I have stuff that's going to be of value. So if you click on this email to open it and then click through some of the links I have, that means that what I have is of value, and I promise you I'm going to give you my best foot forward. So ask yourself, what is your email open rates? Now, some of the other things that you can do is go through all of your audiences. So your audience might be podcast listeners. It could be Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all of that. But ask yourself if you're active on those platforms. So just because I have an Instagram account, I'm not really active as much as I should be on Instagram or could be. So ultimately, I find that connecting with my email list and building my clientele and building my email list has worked great for me. But for other people, they might build their audience through Instagram or through Facebook or through YouTube or some of these other platforms. I do recommend YouTube. It's a great SEO, or even Pinterest and things like that. So if you want to focus on your social media, see where you're active and where your clients are actually at. If you're finding that your clients are not necessarily on a lot of the platforms and you're just kind of posting, you don't really want to count that into your audience. Even though they're there, you're not going to see as many conversions or click-throughs or things like that. So don't look at that as this is going to be my overall audience. I have 50,000 people because I have 10,000 on Facebook, 5,000 on Twitter, 5,000 on Instagram. If you're not active and people aren't really engaging there anyway, and they're not clicking off to a separate link that takes them off that platform and into your platform, well, then ultimately you can include that audience, but just know that the conversion rates might be lower. The next thing I want to ask you is, have you ever sold a product before? So a lot of people want to either just create a product and put it out into the world, but they have no clue about the process of selling a product. So if you have never sold a product before, that's perfectly fine. But I want you to ask that to yourself. Have I sold a product before, and did I do it successfully? Now, if you've never sold a product before, there's going to be a lot of different things that you're going to have to get used to. You're going to get used to people having objections about buying your product. You're also going to find that people sometimes don't move forward during the time frame that you give them. You're also going to find that people sometimes go into abandoned cart mode where they clicked on your sales page, they clicked on the checkout, but now they haven't purchased. So how do I get them back? So there's a lot of different things you're going to experience when you are selling your product for the first time, in addition to your launch. But it's important for you to take time to take that into a factor, because there might be a little bit more customer service and behind the scenes things that you have to factor in within your upcoming launch. Next, I want to go into what is your average monthly revenue currently right now. If you have a business and you have a digital product, whether it's a course, a membership, a coaching product, or some sort, what is your current revenue now? So a lot of people say, I want to have a $5,000 launch, a $10,000 launch, or a $20,000 launch, a $100,000 launch. But one of the questions I like to ask them is, where are you currently at with your revenue? How many people are knocking down the doors right now to buy your product? So if you see that you're only generating, let's say, $1,000 a month, just because you have a launch, it doesn't mean that you're going to go from 1,000 to 100,000 if you don't have a system in place and you don't realize where you're currently at. Now, I am not telling you not to dream big. Trust me, I am a huge dreamer. I love dreaming big. I have really big ideas, and I always try to figure out how can I accomplish them and execute them. But one thing I know is that if you aren't currently making revenue within your business, it's great to set expectations properly, where you have your launch goal, you have a push goal, and then you have your ultimate push goal, which is going to be a lot higher than what you originally planned, or the big goal that you have that you want to accomplish. So what is your current revenue? Now, if you have not generated any sales, I go back to just be realistic with yourself. Now, again, you can dream big, but make that your push goal and be realistic with where you're currently at. So I love to run. One thing about me is that when I go running, I feel like my life is just like woosah. It's amazing. So I was a part of a run group where I used to live in Houston, Texas. And what I would do is, in this run group, we would go running every single morning. We would run for about anywhere from 3 to sometimes 6 miles during that running time. And ultimately, when I started, I was not a runner. I would run maybe 1 mile every so often, but I was not necessarily running 3 to 5 to 6 or even more than that. I was not running that long of distance. So when I got into the group, the coach asked me, what are you currently running right now? And I was so embarrassed to say, I am currently running only 1 mile at this time without having to stop and walk and things like that. I can only run about 1 mile. And instead I said, I can run 3 miles. So he paired me with someone who could run 3 miles consistently. And that was my running buddy. But what I did was I failed myself, and I failed that person because I didn't really know how to run 3 miles straight and consistent without having to stop and walk. So one thing, the reason why I'm telling you this is because if you can be honest with where you're at, then you can set expectations and gradually get to where you want to go. So you might start off with 1 mile. You might eventually get to the 2 mile without having to stop and walk or just go into walk mode. You can continuously jog. And then you eventually get to your 3rd mile and you can continue to grow from there. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen right away. But as you're going through this process, you are going to grow, expand, and improve. You're going to learn techniques and strategies that help you to get further along. And ultimately, you're going to see the results and get to the place of where you want to go. I promise. So whether it's running, whether it's launching, whether it's creating an online course, whatever it may be, as long as you know where you're at and where you want to go and work towards it, you are eventually going to get there. So now we're going to make our way, as we have kind of talked about where you're currently at, we're now going to make our way to where you want to go. This is where you're going to identify what your goals are going to be for your upcoming launch. because 2022 is going to bring it for you. And I want you to be ready for what's to come. I want you to be able to go into this year and make this the best year within your business, and also make this tribe your amazing raving fans where they connect with you. They're asking you, can you make more products? Can you help me do this? Or can you help me get further along? Because they trust you, they love you, and they are excited to see what it is that you put out because you're helping them get results. So where do you want to go? That's a question that a lot of people don't ever answer before they launch. So to set your expectations, I want to know what your launch expectations are. Maybe your launch expectations are to grow your email list. Maybe your launch expectations are to generate revenue, or have 15 people join your program, or have 100 people join your membership, or have 1,000 people join in your upcoming launch. But where is it that you want to go? So tell me what your launch expectations are. If you are here right now, leave a comment. Let me know in the comment section, but I would love to know what your launch expectations are so that you can start planning accordingly in terms of your revenue goals and what is needed in order for you to get to this place. Now, after that, I want you to set your launch dates. So as I mentioned earlier, grab your handy dandy calendar. I'm grabbing my calendar. This is my new calendar that my husband just got me. But what I want you to do is I want you to get your calendar out, because if it's not written, it's not real. What usually happens is we have these ideas of launching and we start throwing out these dates. I see this happen more often than not. A lot of clients I have worked with in the beginning, before we actually dive into the trenches of things, they tell me, I want to launch on this exact date. But once I kind of dive in deeper and break down the methods of where they're at and where they want to go, then they start to see the reality, and ultimately we can create a better time frame. But for right now, I want you to go ahead and write down your launch dates for something called your pre-launch kickoff date. Now, your pre-launch kickoff date is where you're going to start to share that you're going to have something amazing coming in the coming weeks. You're going to share this with your audience. It might be on social media. It could be through email. You're going to ask for their feedback on this particular product that you're looking to create, or the one that you've already created. You're going to start to engage your audience on a specific topic. So when do you want to begin your pre-launch kickoff? Now, pre-launch is usually a 2-week process. Some people make their pre-launch about anywhere from 2 weeks to 4 weeks if they're still building their audience. But during this phase, this is where you're going to get feedback and validation from your audience. This is where they're going to tell you if this is what they want or if this is not what they want. I usually like to do this through survey, and also give a lead magnet that's going to be very it's going to ultimately lead to the product I'm sharing about. So for example, one thing I have recently done was share a survey about launching. I wanted to know, where is my audience when it comes to launching? How are they feeling when it comes to launching? What is it that's holding them back when they launch? Now, the information that we've collected has helped us to better understand where our clients are currently right now. Our tribe is finding that sometimes they're launching, but their launch is not consistent. They're finding that they can't duplicate their process over and over. So it makes it really important for us to know where they're at, so that we're not talking about things that don't relate to what they're wanting to hear or where they're wanting to go. So write your pre-launch date down, and I want you to go ahead and plan for that to be about 2 to 4 weeks long. Now, the next date that you're going to put into your handy dandy calendar, again, just make sure you have this out and you're plugging these dates in. And if you need to put it on a piece of paper for now, go ahead and do so. What is your pre-launch kickoff date going to be? So let me break down what a pre-launch is so you can identify how long that will be and when it will kick off. So a pre-launch is where you're going to start sharing content that ultimately relates to your digital product. You can share this through email, through blogs, through podcasts. You're going to basically be preparing your audience for what's to come. You're going to give some teasers. You're going to give some trainings. You're going to give some lessons, just like what I'm even doing right now, right? We're talking all about launching. And just to give you a heads up, we have an amazing product that's launching about launching. So I want you to think about, what are you going to do during that pre-launch phase, and how long will that be for you? Now, a pre-launch phase, depending on if you have an audience or not, can take anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks. And if you don't have an audience, I always recommend you go more of the 6-week route. Now, you might be thinking I'm pretty crazy with the dates that I'm throwing out, but a lot of the online course legends that a lot of people they look up to and they're like, I want to have a launch like that. They're planning their launches sometimes 6 months to a year out. They're planning it in advance so that they can get affiliates and collaborations and build their audience and email list. So I want you to think what would be best for you for your pre-launch kickoff phase. Do you need more time to build your audience? And if so, give yourself around that 6-week time frame. And if you already have an audience, then you can do more of that 3 to 4 week time frame. Now, in the pre-launch area, you are going to eventually have something called a launch event. A launch event is going to be more of your webinar, your 4-part video series, your challenge. It's going to be that thing that's going to transition your audience from now I've been talking about it to now I want to share the next steps and how you can actually buy my product. It's going to transition you from pre-launch and ultimately to launch mode. So with your launch event, I want you to identify what date would I like to host this event. That means you're going to wrap up pre-launch, you're going to go into your launch event timeframe, and you're going to spend maybe a week or maybe 2 weeks in your launch event mode, such as a webinar, a challenge, or some sort of 4-part video series. You're going to identify what it's going to be, and then eventually you're going to transition into your launch mode. Now, launch mode comes immediately after your launch event. This is when you open up the doors. This is when you open up that cart to say, we are open, you can buy from me, and come and check out the amazing product that I created to help you get that result, for you to overcome some of those pain points and cross that bridge and see and live a better life and really transform the way you've been going about things. So what will that launch date be? Now, once you have that launch date, as you write this down, you might make a change in your calendar, but I want you to know that it's important for you to write these dates down because it's easy to just throw out dates. But if your dates are not written down, if they're not in a place where you can see them over and over, you're going to miss those dates and you're going to skip over it. And you're going to just tell yourself, oh, I'll just launch again next month, or I'll launch again next year, or something like that. And you're going to skip over actually implementing and executing a launch. So go ahead and put some dates out there. Now, I'm going to challenge you even more. Once you have your dates written, I want you to share with your customers. It could be on social media. It could be through email. It could be through maybe your Facebook group or on YouTube or whatever it may be. I want you to share when you are looking to release something or let them know something great is coming. Hey, I've been working on this specific thing over the last couple of weeks, or I've been talking about this particular topic and I have something great coming and it's going to be releasing sometime in mid-January or mid-February or whatever it may be, but go ahead and put it out there. One thing I have found is that when I put out dates, I have to hold myself accountable. My team has to hold me accountable. I hold my team accountable. The whole thing takes place when we put dates out into the world and make it happen. So I want you to hold yourself accountable by sharing it with your audience, even if it scares the heck out of you, because it always scares the heck out of me when I start sharing dates, because I'm like, whoa, what if we have some pushback or setbacks or things like that? But ultimately, when I share these dates, it helps me to stick to what's to come and ultimately get to where it is I want to go and launch that digital product. So go ahead and share with the world. Now, the next thing I want you to do too in your launch planning phase is to identify, do you need a launch team? Now, I share this because what usually happens is a lot of people want to launch and then they start getting overwhelmed and they start going crazy once they realize how much stuff goes into launching. Maybe they're not in the digital online space right now. And so a lot of this stuff is new to them, setting up their emails or setting up sales pages and designing, getting things set up to where you're able to get your survey forms out into the world. But it all comes like, it's just not your first thing that you love to do. It's not your it. So if you need a launch team, I want you to take some time to let people know that I am looking to launch something. You either are really great at email marketing, you might be great at you might be great at design, and you might be great at this, but I'm looking for someone to help me, and I'm wondering if you would like to join my launch team. Now, if you need to find somebody on something like Upwork or Fiverr or Online Jobs, PH, something like that, do it, because you don't want anything to hold you back from actually launching. But there's some things I want you to take into consideration before you just go hire a launch team. You need to identify what you need help with the most. I want you to be able to still figure out some of the stuff on your own, but what can you get help with that's going to hold you bottleneck if you don't pass it off? So for me, I'll tell you, my bottleneck moment is when I have to sit and write tons and tons of copy. So my copywriter and I, that's one of the first things I did was I got a copywriter because one, I'm dyslexic. So a lot of the things I write sometimes they are out of order a little. And sometimes I'm writing and I hit these writer block moments. I'll still write my copy, but my copywriter comes in and cleans things up. So most of you who have worked with me, or if you are in our community, Divine writes our copy. So what she does is I will I'll answer a ton of questions that she might have to help her write this copy. And also we'll go into detail about my storytellings or what I'm trying to say. And then from there, she's able to develop a cleaner version of what I originally created. So it makes it easy for us to get copy done and taken care of, because before, when I was writing the copy, cleaning up the copy, and trying to make the copy absolutely presentable, I almost lost my mind. Like I went crazy. I was like, it's taking me forever, because in launching, you're going to have sales page copy. You're going to have emails. You're going to have checkout copy. You're going to have your launch event copy. There's so much copy that's involved. So that was one of the first things I did to help me to build my launch team. Now, you might need somebody who's in design. Again, you might need somebody who's a copywriter or a video editor, things like that. So I want you to identify what is needed first. And then that is what you're going to focus on. You're going to focus on how do I create a budget for this person? If I don't have a budget, how can I find somebody who might be willing to trade services with me? Maybe I'm really great at doing design work and they're great at copywriting. How can we exchange services and ultimately help each other along the way? So do you need a launch team? If you don't need one and you feel like you can accomplish this, perfectly fine. But as you're going through it, if for any reason you change your mind and you decide, I need a launch team, I need a copywriter, or I need a website designer, or I need a graphic designer, or a video editor, or project manager. Here, I'm getting tongue tied over here. A project manager to help execute this, then be upfront with yourself and really set some time to identify what your budget is and if you can bring on somebody or do a trade of service. All right. So products. So as you are in this mode of where you want to go and setting your expectations, I want you to ask yourself, how much revenue do you want to make? So I want you to have your goal, and then I want you to have a push goal. So your goal is, this is what I believe I can make with my audience that I currently have, or the audience I'm looking to build. This is what I believe I can achieve with the product that I have and where I'm looking to go. I believe it solves a pain point. And I believe that once my audience really sees it and understands it, they are going to be all over it. So what is that revenue goal? Now, what is your push goal? This is where I say dream big, dream really big. So your push goal might be, my original goal is $5,000, but my push goal is going to be $7,500, or my push goal is going to be $10,000. I'm going to double what I believe I can accomplish. I'm going to double it and push things through and really make it happen to get to my push goal. So with that push goal, you are going to aim for that. Even though you have your goal of 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, you're going to aim for that push goal. And the reason I want you to aim for that push goal is because I want you to get out of your comfort zone. I want you to push beyond your beliefs. And I want you to push in a place where it's so uncomfortable that you're willing to do whatever it takes to get to that place. So if it means you have to go live and you have to start hosting things on Instagram and share more about your product during launch week, you're okay with that, because you know that you're going to be moving forward and closer to your goal by putting in that extra effort to do just that. So what are your goals? for revenue? And then what's your revenue push goal? Now, after you've done that, I want you to make a list of all your products. This is something I make my clients do all the time because in order for you to reach that push goal, you might be selling more than one product. You might be selling your digital product with some things called one-time offers or order bumps or bundles. So I want you to make a list of all of your products that you currently have and ask yourself, how can I sell this product and also do an order bump or an upsell or do a bundle of some sort to where I can increase my bottom line in my business. So that helps to us for my team. It helps us to reach a lot of our revenue goals and all of our push goals because we think through what would our client need? What would complement what it is that we already have, what we're giving them within this product? If we were to implement something or provide another product that would be really great and complement, would they be willing to take that? And if so, can it help get them further along? And so we think that through, and ultimately we have things like one-time offers, order bumps, or upsells in order for us to increase our bottom line whenever we are selling our products. So make a list of all your products. This might be something you already have. It's called a value ladder. It helps you to identify the products that are currently within your business. What level are they within your business? Are they an entry product? Are they a signature product? Is it a premium product? Or is it kind of that low end product? I want you to ask yourself like where each of these products are and what they are, and how can you utilize them in some of your upcoming launches and connect them to your other products. Okay. So now the last thing I want to talk about within this planning mode on where you want to go is promoting your product. As I mentioned earlier, some of you might be building your audience, and so you don't necessarily have an audience yet, or you have a smaller audience, which is perfectly fine. And so if that is the case, you might want to promote your products through collaboration. Collaboration helps you to be able to get in front of someone else's audience and ultimately build your email list, your following, and be able to connect with that tribe as well. Now, I love to do partnerships and collaborations. I'm going to use a collaboration that was really great and also an excellent way for me to connect with people who are definitely people I want to be in my tribe. So I have partnered with Kajabi for, goodness gracious, a couple of years now, or two, I think about 2 years now. But I was a part of their self-made summit. And with their self-made summit, there was a panelist group, which I was a part of, and there was a keynote speaker. And we had an opportunity to connect with people who utilize Kajabi to share how we have been able to see success and ultimately reach some awesome goals and build a business using Kajabi and just being able to create some amazing things through that platform. Now, that allowed me to connect with more people who use a platform that I absolutely love and that absolutely preach and share about all the time. And it allowed me to connect with more people that would be right for my tribe. So I want you to think about people you can collaborate with. It doesn't have to be on the level of Kajabi. It doesn't have to be on the level of some of these big companies. It could be micro collaborations where you're talking to someone who has an audience that might be, let's say, 1,000 people or 2,000 people, but ultimately allows you to get in front of their audience and share either a training or share on a virtual summit or a podcast or a YouTube or a blog post. You want to be able to identify how can you collaborate to promote these different products, but ultimately build your audience along the way. So whenever I am collaborating, whether it's with things like Kajabi or with some of the amazing people within the online course and coaching industry, if I'm able to collaborate with them, I don't necessarily talk about my product. I don't talk about what's coming. What I usually do is I talk about what my industry, I talk about some strategies or some things that can help in the industry of what I'm talking about, which is marketing, course creation, automation, and launching. And then at the end, I will put in a little blurb that's about check out my website or check out my lead magnet or a free guide that I have for you. And that ultimately allows people or introduces them to my audience. So it allows me to get in front of more people on their audience, but then bring them back to my own audience and ultimately build my tribe along the way as well. So if you need to promote and collaborate, which I recommend you do, I do recommend, no matter how large your audience is, if you can implement some sort of collaboration of some sort, it's very helpful. So I want you to ask yourself, do you like to do guest blog posts? Do you like to do podcast appearance, virtual summits, affiliates, or social media takeovers? Whatever it may be, I want you to identify, how are you going to promote your product outside of just you? Outside of just your Instagram, outside of your YouTube, outside of your email list, how can you continue to grow your tribe and almost promote your product through other people's tribes as well? So the great part about this is, again, it's going to allow you to get further along, but ultimately it's going to help you think outside the box and get to that push goal that you're having. Okay, so I have a bonus thing that I want to talk about, and it's all about what's holding you back when it comes to launching. Because one thing I see is a lot of limited beliefs when it comes to launching. I had a ton of limited beliefs. Trust me when I say this. I used to think that the only people who had big launches were people who had this big team, people who had this amazing product, or their copy was just right. And so what I would do is I would spend a lot of my time doing busy work, rewriting my sales page, rewriting like just anything on my website, changing up my product. And ultimately I spent a lot of time focused on the wrong things. Instead, I should have focused on building my audience. Instead, I should have focused on how can I create a launch that's going to work, and ultimately create strategies and really follow a method along the way. So I want you to ask yourself, what is currently holding you back? Because there's something that's holding you back. You might have a limited belief, like what I had, was that the only way I could be the only way I could really launch the way I wanted to was if everything was perfect. That was my limited belief. That was holding me back and keeping me in busy mode and not into making money mode. You might also feel like you don't have enough resources. You don't know enough. So this was also me. I used to go into everyone's course, everyone's coaching program. I spent tons of money on so many different trainings because I felt like everyone else had the answer but myself. So it wasn't until I learned to trust myself, it wasn't until I sat down and really created a strategy and go back to some of my own corporate days back in the day when I worked in corporate world and really think through, how did they launch a product, and really study it in a way that allowed me to create a method for what I do today. That is what I want you to write down. Just what's holding you back. So what might be holding you back? It could be your family. Maybe you just don't have time. I know that with our new little addition, Paddington, he's been sucking up so much of our time, and I absolutely love it. But one thing I do know is that a lot of things that need to be done, I have been kind of pushing off to the back burner. So what is it that could possibly keep you from launching or holding you back from getting to that place of where you want to go? Now, what makes you nervous? Now, launching is super nervous. And one thing I find is when people are about to launch, when they're working with myself and my team, what usually happens is when they're about to launch, they start finding everything wrong. They're like, this is not right. That's not right. This is not right. This is not right. And I always have to go back and just kind of do like a, whew, take a deep breath. You're going to be okay. We're launching this baby and putting it out into the world. So what makes you nervous? Some of the things that my clients have said were that they were just nervous to put themselves out there. What if no one buys? What if they have all these issues with technology as people are actually going through this particular launch? So this brings a lot of fear. And I want you to ask yourself, if you're nervous about something, go ahead and write it down, because you can get in front of those fears and things that are ultimately keeping you from launching and get through them and work through them as you go through this launch phase. Okay, corporate misfits. So I hope you've had fun planning your launch beginning portion with me, your goals, getting that going. I'm going to be going in deeper over the next couple of weeks on launching your business, getting down to the nitty-gritty so that you can ultimately launch with ease and not the overwhelm. Whether it's sharing the details about how to get the launch going, all of that good stuff, I really want to help you, because I know when I started, I thought launching was a far off goal and dream. I thought it was not going to be possible. I always freaked out when it came to launch mode, and I always held myself back. And I don't want you to do the same things that I did along the way that kept me from actually being able to get further along in my business. So I want to remove some of these launch barriers. I want to remove the fear when it comes to launching. And I want to help you to set your goals and then ultimately create a full-on launch plan so that you can succeed. So if you enjoyed this live session, let me know in the comment section below. I cannot wait to see what you accomplish with your launch, and make sure that you plug in your dates into your handy dandy calendar so that you can see that success and ultimately launch on the days that you are planning. Okay, I'll see you in some of our upcoming trainings.